If you have a hard time squatting ass to grass or really hitting depth in your squats, then I'm gonna go over a couple of exercises that can potentially help and show you what they're gonna be addressing. And nobody's got an excuse not to be able to get into a full squat anymore. If you've seen the Spurs player, Victor Wembanyama, might be butchering the name a little bit, he is super tall. And there's a video of him squatting ass to grass. And he's over 7 feet tall. So no excuses. We're gonna be breaking down a couple of things that you can utilize in the gym during your warm up before you squat to make it feel better. One of the first things that we'll typically look at is going to be ankle mobility. And with ankle mobility, you can do a simple screen. If I step back, if I just shift my knee as far forward as I can I get my knees over my toes? If you can barely get your knees over your toes, then potentially you want to work on ankle mobility. But the minute that the knees can go over your toes, you're probably already good, right? You don't need to get anything more than that. And when we're addressing ankle mobility, I like to utilize the knees over toe lunge. And that's just gonna be a very positive shin angle as I start to shift forward, keeping my heel down and my foot relaxed. Those are two big keys. The minute that the heel comes off the ground, when it's on the floor, it's gonna start to create rigidity in your foot, right? There's two shapes that your foot has. It's gonna be supination, where the arch is formed, and pronation when the arch collapses. Pronation is going to be the thing that allows your foot to actually mobilize and your ankle to move more. And that's only possible when the heel is down and when the foot is relaxed. If you start to grip the ground, right, grip the ground with your toes, your foot is not going to be able to mobilize and therefore you're not going to get ankle mobility. So as you're starting to do your knees over toe lunge, I want you to slowly shift the knee forward, relax your toes and keep the heels down. And you're just going to work for about 10 repetitions. Each rep trying to get a little bit further. And it's okay for your arch to collapse. It needs to happen in order to restore your ankle mobility. The next thing that we're gonna need as we start to approach parallel is gonna be hip internal rotation. So when we move outward, that's gonna be external rotation. When we move inward, that's gonna be internal rotation. And as you get closer to parallel, you really need to have access to internal rotation in order to squat below that. So an exercise that we like to utilize is gonna be the diagonal bridge rotation. I'm gonna keep my bottom leg fixed against the ground like so. I'm gonna come up and all I'm gonna do is I'm gonna rotate around this bottom leg. And you're gonna feel a nice stretch on the side of your glute and sometimes even in the back of your glute as well. And this is gonna improve your ability for your hip to internally rotate, which is something that you're gonna need as you start to approach parallel. And that's the motion that's occurring, right? When the leg is down, I'm moving my pelvis around that thigh bone, that femur, in order to get that internal rotation to occur. So this is the front of your hip and this is the back of your hip. There are a lot of people that have really tight glutes because they squeeze their glutes all of the time. They're almost what we call butt clenchers. And what that does is if we squeeze the muscles a lot here, the glutes and the muscles in the back of your hips are gonna be very shortened. And this is what we call the pelvic outlet. So if the glutes in the back are very shortened, it's gonna actually close off the pelvic outlet. And our goal is to actually open it up a little bit more and create some length in the backside so that you can squat efficiently. Now there's some research to show that this tall kneeling squat position actually helps open up the pelvic outlet a ton. But a lot of people have a hard time sitting their hips back. And this is where a pillow or some pads can really come into play. You're gonna keep it behind your knee. You're gonna sit back and your goal is to feel pretty relaxed here. And as you start to take a deep breath, you might start to feel your sit bones shift out to the side. And you're gonna feel some of your muscles in between your private parts start to relax a little bit. And what this is doing is we're starting to let the glutes relax and unclench so that the pelvic outlet area can open up. So we're starting with this rock back, stay nice and proud, and you're just relaxing. You're not using a ton of muscle tension, going for the gentle inhales. And you'll start to feel these sit bones open up side to side like so. And you'll feel some space between that area. And this can be really relieving for people with back pain, and this can help a ton getting people into a deeper squat as well. The next thing we gotta work on is the actual hinge pattern. As we're squatting up and down, right? Our segments of our body, some are gonna be moving forward, some are gonna be moving back. This is called managing our center of mass. Oftentimes, people have a hard time letting the backside relax, so everything comes more forward. A simple thing that you can utilize yourself is if you squeeze your glutes. If you squeeze your glutes and you don't let them open up, you're not going to be able to get down very far. You need to get those glutes to actually relax. And this is where this seated hinge variation can come into play. So we're going to sit a little bit more than shoulder width apart. Keep your arms by your chest like this. And I want you to just hinge. You should get as low as you can while you can still keep a relatively upright torso. And once you feel the need to really crunch, hold that position. And I just want you to take a deep breath here. You're gonna get a very similar feeling to what we did when we were on the ground with the tall kneeling squat and breathing. You're gonna feel your sit bones move out to the side, and you're gonna feel the space kind of between your private parts start to relax a little bit. And in this, I like to go for about 10 deep breaths, full inhale. Exhale all the way. 2-second pause and repeat for 10 breaths. Making those breaths as quiet as possible, you start to feel some things in your hips and your pelvis start to lengthen and open up, and you can retest your squat and see how that feels. If you want to squat deeper, one of the things that needs to happen at your thigh bone is that it needs to be able to tilt backwards. So this is what it looks like. As I start to squat, this thigh bone is tilting backwards, I get to parallel. The knee will stay exactly where it's at, and then the thigh bone will tilt backwards even more. If you're having a hard time getting there, what you can utilize is a heel elevation. And you're just gonna keep your arms out in front of you. You can even hold something in goblet, but keep your arms out in front of you, pause at about parallel. And from there, I just want you to relax the backside and let yourself sit into a squat. And then you're gonna come back up. Slowly come down to about parallel, relax to out here, relax the backside and shift your weight towards your heels. And all we're working is this thigh tilting back pattern, because so many people have a hard time tilting this thigh backwards in order to sit comfortably into a squat. And as that gets better, you don't need the heel elevation anymore. You can start to utilize the same pattern on just flat ground and see how that feels. Another thing to consider is the fact that maybe you're new to training and you're new to training the squat pattern itself. You might just need more exposure, right? Before I try to make something more complicated than it needs to be, maybe just spend a couple more months putting a squat into your program and training it over time, and you will naturally develop the skill of squatting deeper, lower, and you don't have to do any of these drills. But if you've had injuries before in the past, or maybe you have certain movement strategies, and some of these things in the videos resonate with you, definitely include it into your warm-up routine or something as accessory work as well, so that you can address these deficits, these mobility deficits that would allow you to squat a little bit deeper. If you're someone that's been dealing with some long-standing injuries, whether that's the knee, the hip, or the lower back, and you've been wanting to get back to, pain-free squats, hitting PRs, and really putting some load onto the barbell, then let us know, because we've helped so many CrossFit athletes, so many powerlifters get back to squatting more efficiently without any pain. And we can do this virtually, or we do this in person in one of our 3 New York City locations. And if you're just kind of interested in what our process looks like, feel free to schedule a free phone consultation in the channel description below. But I hope you enjoyed this video and found a ton of value from it.